Hey there, welcome to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast. I'm your host, Amy Van Meel, and I'm on a mission to inspire and teach changemakers and budding entrepreneurs who have big dreams and hearts to help others through their business. If you're wrestling with the day-to-day biz stuff, you're in the right place because that's the kind of stuff we talk about here. So let's dive in. Today, I'm really excited to talk with you about setting boundaries. Now, that might sound like kind of a dry topic, so stay with me. But I think it's going to be a change maker in your business. It will really impact how you do your day-to-day business powerfully. And I think in the long run will make it much easier for you and you'll get much more enjoyment out of it. So when I talk about boundaries, what are boundaries? Well, the boundaries that we're talking about are rules or principles that you live by or operate within. So what might they look like? Well, we have physical boundaries, like the fence around your yard or the front door to your home or the door to your office. And then we have non-physical boundaries, and those can include emotional boundaries, mental boundaries, material, sexual, spiritual, all kinds of different frameworks which you operate within. And what we're talking about today are boundaries in your business. So the purpose of boundaries is to establish healthy and productive parameters for yourself, your friends and your family, and your clients. All right, are you still with me? So when I talk about business boundaries, I'm talking about things like setting office hours, what kind of services you do or don't offer, your payment rates and terms, this is a big one, your communication, so for example, phone, text, or email, and when you'll be reached or will respond. If you're sitting in a situation right now where you have clients they think they can call you at all hours of the day or on your weekends or your days off, pay close attention because setting boundaries is going to be so good for you, good for your business, and in turn, it will be really good for your clients. So why are boundaries important? I just listed a whole bunch of things, but here's a few extra things to think about. If you haven't heard this before, maybe you haven't pulled it in yet, but did you know that you teach others how to treat you? It's true. It blew my mind the first few times I heard this, but it's totally true. Boundaries are also important because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be working 24/7, so you probably don't want to be either. And you don't want to land in hot water trying to do something outside of your scope of expertise. So if you're working in one field and all of a sudden somebody asks to stretch you a little bit beyond what your expertise and your knowledge is in, you can land in some not so good situations. And one of the best reasons to have boundaries in your business is you gotta make money. Right? We're not in business just to fill our days. I mean, heck, if I just want to fill my day, I'll sit on my duff or I'll go skiing or I'll watch movies. Well, I can make money doing that. So boundary lines get tested all the time. Some of us, you may have tried to set some boundaries and you haven't been firm in them. And then what that looks like is when you're not firm is that people will tend to test them. They'll push them. Now, if you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about because kids do this all the time. And when I first started in my business all those years ago, I remember a business coach said that clients are like kids. And we all kind of laughed and were like, really? I mean, they're adults. Like, how are they like kids? They're like kids because they will always test your boundaries. No matter what boundaries you set, there's always going to be somebody who's going to come along and they'll try to text you or call you outside of your office hours. They'll try to negotiate down your rates. That's a big one. Or they might even try to adjust your payment terms. Assuming that you offer payment terms, they'll try to wiggle around on those and see if they can readjust them or, whatever that looks like. So if you've set some boundaries and you think you're holding firm, maybe you've had somebody who's already unwittingly breached a boundary and you didn't even know it. So here's some key ways that you can see that and what that would look like. So if someone's unwittingly gone past that boundary, you probably don't feel very happy. Especially with that project or the work that you're doing with them, you might feel resentful or guilty or anxious. you suddenly will feel less good about working with that client. Now, I've had clients like this in the past where often it's been around payment terms or package prices where they've tried to negotiate down. And this happened early in my business. So I'm very grateful that I learned this lesson early on. And I found that the whole way through that project, I had to fight and beg for everything. And I always felt like somehow I was doing something wrong. And I came to I hated when I would see communications from this client. I hated it. That whole project turned out to be an absolute disaster. I can't even tell you. But it was a powerful lesson for me in terms of what am I willing to let clients do and dictate in my business? Right? We have to think about that. When we set business hours, so if you have a store, this is fantastic. If you have a store, you set business hours. The doors do not unlock until the business is open. And then when they're closed, the doors get locked again. Now, if you're in retail especially, you're always going to have somebody who tries to stay late or runs in, 3 minutes before you're closing and they're like, oh, I just need to get one thing, or I just want to have a look at that sofa, or I want to have a look at that car before you close so I can think about it tonight. They're always going to test those boundaries. The great thing about having like a brick and mortar location is that basically once those office hours are set and you're not there, then there is limited chance of contact with you. But if you're like me and you work from home and your business phone is also your personal phone, then there's this idea that people can just call you and text you and talk to you any time of the day or night and any time during your off hours. So I know for myself, I do my best to make a point that unless I really need a question answered right now, and that's rare because usually my business hours align with my vendor's hours, but if I need a question answered right now because I'm planning ahead or something, I'll send a very quick text or a very quick email and just say like, you know what, when you get a chance to respond, please do. But if you don't, that's cool. I can wait till Monday. It's not the end of the world. I had a fantastic boss years ago that said to me when clients would get all irate and they get upset, he's like, we're not selling hearts. I mean, if they don't get what they need right now, it's not like somebody's going to die. So just keep that. It gives a great chance of perspective for your business when clients are really pushing at you and like, I need this now. I can't wait till tomorrow, or I can't wait till next week. The world will not burn down. Nobody's going to die. If you're in an industry where somebody will die, then obviously there's some time issues in there, but most of us aren't in that business, so then don't worry about it. So I want to talk about how you can resolve boundary issues. This is really powerful, and I wish that someone had talked with me about this when I started, because man, let me tell you, I'm sure that I would have gone through less Kleenex and had less headaches, probably a few less bottles of wine as well, if I had just known this ahead of time. So the first thing you need to do, obviously, is you need to set clear and healthy boundaries. And the great thing is here, I have a free download for you. I'll give you the URL at the end of the podcast so that you can go over and grab that download and get an idea of like, what could boundaries look like for you? So when we're talking about boundaries around your business, let's talk, for example, setting office hours. Super simple, right? We think, okay, it's really easy. I'm going to be working in my business from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Let's just use that as an example. Fantastic. If you work from home and you have kids, what happens when your kids are at home at the same time that you're at work? My guess is that your office door is constantly open. The kids are constantly coming in, asking questions. They're constantly needing you to do something for them. They're walking by like, Mom, I'm bored, or Dad, like, I wish I could do something more, or can't we do this, or can't we do that? And those boundaries are being tested, right? So it's really important to be able to set some clear parameters. If you have kids or even partners who don't quite get it, who kind of think, well, you're working from home, so this isn't really like a real thing. That's my favorite. I've had that come up a few times, not with my partner, but with other people around. If you have people that are looking at it that way, then you just need to be clear. Look, right now I'm earning money. And it may not look to you like I'm earning money, but me sitting in this office is no different than me sitting in a downtown corporate tower. So unless the house is burning down or something has really gone sideways, then I need to ask you to please respect the time that I'm in the office. I'll come out and check in 15 minutes when I'm finished on this, whatever task I'm working on. It's a fantastic way to just positively reinforce those boundaries. And if they're still kind of pushing, you can always bring it back to something that they really want. Let's say maybe you're thinking about going out for dinner. Okay, so if you're going out for dinner, you got to pay for dinner. Well, how do you pay for dinner? You got to be able to make some money. So you can just say, listen, I really want to help you right now, and I totally understand that right now you're kind of into this thing, but I got to make some money so we can go out for dinner tonight. Something simple. You don't have to, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't have to qualify why you're in the office. You don't have to qualify what you're there for, but help them understand the importance of you being in the office. Does that make sense? I hope so. So when someone tries to circumvent them, we just talked about this, to stand firm. And if they keep trying, just calmly let them know that you're not a good fit for what they're looking for, and wish them well. This is a really fantastic example I want to talk about. So clients, especially new clients, typically once you've been working with a client for a while, then you won't have this so much because they'll be used to the boundaries that you've set. If you've set them clearly from the beginning, they'll understand and in most cases operate within those. But let's say, for example, you're new in business, because that's really what we're talking about. A lot of us are new in this, right? So I want to talk about when you're new and you're not totally confident yet in your rates or in your time frame, or whatever it is that you're putting together. You don't have that like solid, okay, this I'm holding the line on this. This is what it's going to look like. Most of us get those lines when they've been crossed a few times, FYI. So let's say you're on the phone or you're meeting with someone in person, and they're asking you about your rates. So you understand what the work is that they want you to do. And now they're trying to figure out, well, how much is it going to cost for you to come in? So you tell them your rates are, say, $1,000 a month. And right away you see their face screw up like, ooh, well, I can't afford $1,000 a month. Can you bring your rates down for me? That's a great question. Well, you could. I mean, you've set the rates yourself. So unless you're in an industry where the rates are, mandated or they're regulated, then technically, yes, you could. But what that tells you right there is that client doesn't value the work that you do. That is a huge thing. I want you to really hear that. When someone tries to negotiate your rates down, they do not value the work that you do. And what that means is if you give in, you will always feel behind. You will always have this sense from the client that you need to prove your worth, what you're charging, and you're going to be resentful of that work all the way through. How do I know? Because I did it. And I think almost every entrepreneur out there has dropped their rates once. Not many do it more than that, but they usually have. Most of us have dropped the rates once because we're hungry. We want to make a difference. We need to make money. We want to build a portfolio of client work. So we do it once and then we regret it and we're just like, oh my gosh, how did I get in there? That's how. So if that comes up, like I said, and they're asking you to drop your rates, just say, you know what? I think that your project is really exciting. I wish you all the best moving forward, but I can tell you right now that we're not going to work well together, so I'm respectfully just going to pull myself out. That's it. It's not an insult. You just got to let them know, nope, that's it, and that's where I'm standing. Now, if they've already gone around those boundaries, so we talked about, maybe they've already broken down or they've circumvented the boundary layer that you put in place somehow, the first thing that I want you to do is acknowledge your part in letting them do so. This is a big thing here, so don't take this lightly. You need to take responsibility. So all of us create the reality that we exist within, which means that if we have clients that aren't treating us the way we want to be treated, we've allowed them to do that. Remember when I said earlier that we teach clients how to treat us? We teach others how to treat us. It's not just clients. So you need to take responsibility. It's not a matter of beating yourself up. It's not a matter of judging yourself. It's just a matter of saying, hey, all right, you know what? I totally get it. When they first crossed this boundary, I didn't stand firm and I didn't say, you know what? I understand why you want to reach out right now, but it's my off time. I need time to relax. All right? So take a moment, just a couple minutes, and acknowledge your part in doing them. Then the next thing you do, in the next communication you have with your client, restate what your boundary is. So if it's office hours, simply remind them, look, my office hours are from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I'm more than happy to talk with you then. You just want to restate what that boundary is and confirm that you're going to operate in this way for however long the duration is. So if you're in the middle of a project, and now I see this in design world all the time, where we're in the middle of a renovation and the client's like freaking out. Well, if the trades aren't going to be there the next day, or there isn't work going in right now, then there's really nothing that we need to worry about. Or if it's Sunday, all of the vendors are closed and everybody's gone. So we don't need to worry about, trying to fix it because it's Sunday. Just go relax. It's gonna be okay. We're not saving lives. So I have a simple example for you because I think examples can be so powerful. So when I talk about in your next communication, you're resetting your boundaries, here's an example. Like we talked about having off hours communications, and this is really powerful for your clients. So your next email, and I would probably have it as an email so that they can read it and reread it, and you can reference back to it versus a phone call, because a phone call, you don't have anything that's tactile. You don't have anything to track it. So in your next email, you would write something like this. Hi there, Mr. or Mrs. Client. I understand that you are under some stress and that you'd like to move forward as quickly as possible. You're acknowledging where they're at. I want you to reach whatever their end goal is as well. And to best serve you, I need time away to recharge. I appreciate your understanding and will address the rest of your questions on the following business day. Now, do you see how simple it is? You're not calling them out in a way that's going to make them defensive. You're not saying that, you're not invested in where they want to go. In fact, you're saying, I'm so invested in where you want to go that I want to show up as my best self for you. And if you can't show up as your best self, if you show up again on Monday and you're tired and you're stressed and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we're heading into another week and I don't feel like I got time off at all, then you're not going to be there to present for the client the best. You're not going to be communicating in the way that is respectful and loving for your vendors and for your tradespeople and for your clients, whatever that looks like, whatever your business looks like. You need time to be able to just chill out and relax. Am I right? So let's bring this home. Like I said, boundaries are really important for you in your business. They're important for you personally as well. I don't want to get into all the heavy, personal talk. The great thing about business boundaries versus personal boundaries is that there is much less potential backlash when you set a boundary. If we're talking about personal boundaries and you set a boundary and it's different than what your friends or family may be used to, then there's definitely a very good chance, I would say almost 100% chance, that there's going to be some backlash because you're all of a sudden changing the rules. But when it comes to your business, the great thing is that you set the rules day in, day out. And if somebody says, well, hey, but that's not how you used to do it, you can just say something as simple as, you know what, you're right, I used to do it differently and I was approaching burnout and I wasn't loving what I did and it wasn't a great way for me to show up for my clients. So I decided to set some boundaries in place so I can serve you better. People love to know when you're changing things or enhancing things or making small, micro changes here and there, that you're doing it because you want to do a better job. They don't ever want to hear, well, I just need to have more time off. Well, we would all love to have more time off. Let's be real, right? But what we're talking about here is I want to be able to serve you better, and that's why I have these things in place. So I hope that this makes good sense to you. I want to keep this short. I want to try to keep us within 20 minutes, and I have a tendency to just keep talking along. So I mentioned earlier on that I have a free download for you, and I'm excited for you for this one. So if you go to daretobegin.net/boundaries, you're going to find a download that will help you understand and quickly put in place a couple of boundaries. And I'm going to add a couple little tips in there for you as well, so that if somebody's sort of pushing those boundaries, you can go back and say, oh, hold up, this boundary is in place for this reason. I'm so excited that you listened to me today, and I hope that the idea of setting boundaries will be something you implement very quickly in your business if you haven't already. If you have some boundaries and you're finding that they're not quite fitting, maybe just do a quick reevaluation and see, do I need to adjust it a little bit? Are my office hours maybe not best serving me? And even though I said, office hours are Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, that does not mean that that's what your office hours will be or should be. Maybe you have other commitments during the day, like kids or a job, and your office hours are, in the evenings or on the weekends. Whatever it is, it's cool. Just set those hours and try to do your best to stay firm in those hours. Remember, it is best for you. It will allow you to show up 100%, and it's fantastic for your clients as well because it will allow them to get the best service that you could possibly have. All right? So like I said, head on over to daretobegin.net/boundaries for your free download. And I look forward to seeing you next week, because next week we're going to be talking about limiting beliefs. Doesn't sound super exciting, but let me tell you, it's going to be a game changer in your business. I wish you a fabulous Tuesday and look forward to talking to you soon.